Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Wherever you call home, we are there. In favorite places. Large spaces. For many homes, we have coverage that fits the way you live. And with our home systems protection, you can cover major home appliances and more. We cover more type of homes than ever. Get the coverage you and your family deserves. For a free no obligation quote, visit us online or simply give us a call.
Back at you and Gloves Off, and today we got a great guest from California, a defender of dad's rights, attorney David Pisarra with Dad's Law School, and we're going to touch base on what happens to dads during a divorce in custody. How are we doing today, my friend? You doing good?
I'm awesome, man. It's been a great week in Southern California, and I'm really excited to be here and sharing with you what we can do to help dads get more time with their kids.
Absolutely. Well, number one, thank you, and I commend you for doing what you're doing, because there's a lot of attorneys out there that they just shy away from this problem or this issue, if you want to put it that way.
Sure. Well, it's one of those where, you know, the societal story is dads are deadbeats, right? Yep. I mean, moms are just long-suffering saints. They sacrifice everything for their children. You don't understand. Give me a fucking break. I'll be a stay-at-home mom. Anytime somebody wants to make me a stay-at-home parent, I'm there. Like, take care of my bills, my car payment, my insurance, all of my food, all of my travel, all of my clothing. I'm down.
Absolutely. You know, and not to knock down moms, but it happens to moms as well. But today, the higher percentage, it happens to dads. That's what we're talking about, because it is a pattern.
Absolutely. You know, and the reality is that dads make huge sacrifices that go unrecognized in our society. You know, the BS that, okay, dad should work 9, 10, 12-hour days, come home and then do dishes, laundry. Oh, and gardening. Don't forget the repairs. That leaking that leaking toilet, he's the one that's got to fix that. Like, wait a second, come on here. If you're going to be a stay-at-home parent, like, you got to take care of the home. That's your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I see that rationale. Now, let's get this, that most parents do this. They end up getting a divorce. There's a lot of divorces in the United States. They have a child, they go inside. Most attorneys say, you got 50-50 custody, go inside, all of a sudden, guess what? You have only every other weekend, or first, third, and fifth weekend. Right. And the father comes and says, I didn't agree to this.
Well, I don't know about what's going on in that situation, because, you know, dad's not going to sign anything unless he's agreed to it. And then the court's going to make their ruling if nobody agrees. You know, if you come to an agreement for 50-50, which is the most fair, in my opinion, that's where we should be starting. You know, barring a substance abuse problem or like an anger abuse, like a real problem. Not just this manufactured BS domestic abuse stuff that, like, I'm just so over. I'm at the point now where it's like, if you tell me you're abused, I'm like, I want to see the pictures. I want to see the video. Yeah, like, you just making a bald-faced claim carries no weight with me anymore, because I've seen so much of just the BS. And unless we actually have real abuse happening beyond normal human just interactions and anger and resentment, like, stuff happens, you know, then we should be starting with the presumption of 50-50. Like, if you liked somebody enough to have a kid with them, you should like that person enough to share the child that you created.
You're absolutely
get into the, okay, let's look at the logistics of how is this really going to work? And that's where a lot of times men get just completely hamstrung. Like, they don't understand that when they've set themselves up with an on-the-road traveling job or a job that takes them away for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, you're going to have a really hard time getting 50-50 because just logistically, do you have the ability to be there for the child? You know, and that's why I tell dads, like, listen, coming into court, first off, you need to be able to have and use the time that you're asking for. And that may mean a job change. I've had clients change jobs specifically to have more time for their kids. I've had clients pick up and move to get closer to their kids so they can make the argument to the court that, listen, Your Honor, I'm a half mile away. There's no reason why I can't have time with my kid. There's no reason why I can't be doing these things. And when you've done that, you're in a much better position arguing to a judge that you should have 50-50. And that's something that I think most dads need to know. Like, this is a strategy game. And you've got to remember that you've been playing checkers and she's been playing 4D chess. From the time you get that first date, she was collecting evidence on you. She was collecting data on you. And every bit of that is going to get used against you in a custody battle because it's all about how much custody can she get because that's going to maximize her child support.
Absolutely. Do you think it's all about child support?
I won't say all. I'll say there's, 75% child support, 25% is ego and being able to look like I'm the better parent. I'm the one that's making the sacrifices. I'm the one that is really there all the time. And that's really about looking good to their girlfriends. It's not really about, taking care of the kid. It's really about my ego and how do I appear, because one of the things we have to remember is women are naturally way more competitive than men with each other. They're brutal in the way in the games that they play and the undercutting and the viciousness. And so if they're going to do that with their friends, the kids are just collateral damage.
And there's a lot of collateral damage. There's a lot of, and that leads into a lot of things. It leads into alienation.
Yeah.
It leads into an alienation, leads into a series of very severe problems for kids, like teen pregnancy and drugs and runaways and all kinds of
100%.
And people don't want to do that. And what I found out here, especially in Texas, because you're in California, we're in Texas. Texas, you have I don't know about California law, but in Texas you have 2503, which is a state, it's a interference with child custody. It's actually a state jail felony. It's never been implemented since the history of it. Never one. But fathers have been thrown in jail because they go pick up their child where the address says to go pick them up, and they come out and they say no trespassing, and the father gets thrown in jail for trespassing. And
100%. And we've got an analogous law, a real similar law that I don't think anybody's ever been convicted of. But God forbid you should be late on your child support. Oh my God, you're a deadbeat dad. You're the most horrible human being on the planet. Oh, I don't care that you got laid off, that your industry got decimated due to writer strikes and actor strikes, and your royalties got destroyed, and oh, your house burned down in the Palisades fire. We don't care. Hey, your child support. Hello, got a little sense of reality here. And on the converse, the other side of that, if mom is withholding the kids, why aren't the police involved? Why aren't the courts enforcing this? And they don't. I was talking to a judge last week at a dinner, and it's a big bunch of lawyers, and the judge is there, and I raised my hand. I'm like, Your Honor, I got a question for you. How come when we bring a contempt action for a parent withholding a child in violation of a court order of visitation, you don't do anything about it? Just anything. I don't care. You can do anything. You put them in jail as one level, give the time back as another, punish them in some other way, switch custody. And literally the response I got was, we don't want to punish bad parents.
Yeah.
And my immediate thought was, but you're going to punish the good parent by not enforcing it. What the hell?
You're correct. the similar attitude is here. And I made that same question. I've asked the same question to DAs and police officers and city council and so on and so forth. And the first thing they say is, we don't want to arrest moms because it's bad for voting.
Right. God forbid.
You know?
Now, there's that San Mateo family court watchers channel on TikTok. And they got some big case they're following in downtown LA of some mom that was being criminally prosecuted for domestic violence due to, violating the court orders, and some other DV abuse. And the comments about how hard it is and how wrong this is, and it's just the abusers taking advantage and making it hard for moms to whatever their children is just so horrible. I'm like, hello? When the hell have any of you people showed up for a dad that was losing their kids? I have hundreds, maybe thousands of direct messages and emails from dads who don't get to see their kids for no reason. I'm not talking like these are registered sex offenders. They're not violent people. They're not drug addicts. I mean, I've got hundreds, probably thousands, if I actually went back and looked and counted them all, of good, hardworking, pay your child support dads who don't get to see their kids. I got a DM yesterday from a guy who's like, I have been paying child support for 40 years. 40 years. And he still owes because of the way in which child support is paid off and interest is charged. And if you have arrears and you're a dad who's got arrears and you make a payment, the payment goes not to the principal, but to the interest. It's interest first. And if you've got any large number of principal and you're having a huge interest payment, you're never going to get caught up. You're just never going to get caught up. And it's just horrible because we prioritize the money side of this and we completely dismiss the emotional support side of this, the relationship side of this, what dads bring to relationships and raising children. You said kids have horrible results. They higher drug use, lower school scores, increased teen pregnancy. All of those are solved with a very simple process. Put a dad in the kid's life.
Absolutely.
You put a dad in a kid's life, all that stuff's going to go away, or at least be dramatically brought down.
It's going to drop. Absolutely. And you see it, we have a martial arts school and I've been teaching for a very long time. That's what I'm basically known for teaching savate, right? All French fighting. And throughout the country that I go teach and through other countries, the problem's the same. It's the same pattern.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of single moms with the kids, and the kids are troubled. And you see the kids, you see the youth, the way they've been, I don't know if it's doctrinated or I don't know what the word would be but they have the same issues. And I can tell you a child, when they come in, I always do this to every kid that comes in, I extend my hand. If that child, that boy turns up and shakes a hand, I know that there's a father in the family. If they just look around Space Cadet, I can tell you that there's no father in the family. And so that's just a very simple consideration. So that's a very important. And right now we have a lot that don't. But you see that abuse, I guess it's a social problem that we have. I think this pandemic is socially, because when you go into the school districts, the majority of the teachers are women. The vast majority of them are divorced, and they're doing the same thing to some of the fathers. Maybe they're withholding the kids. So you have problems in the school district when a father goes up and I want to see the grades. I want to see how my child is doing. You're going to be neglected. You're going to be ghosted. You're going to be shut down right away. It's a huge, and you see it as well. The extra, especially here in Laredo area. I don't know how it is throughout the rest, but here what I've experienced is most of the extracurricular activities fall on the schools, fall on the first, third, and fifth, weekends when most fathers have the kids. Why? Because they don't have their kids and they're able to do these programs. So understand what I'm saying? So when I brought that up to the attention, they said, no, it's not. But is she divorced? I asked them. Oh yeah, she has 2 kids and they spend time with the father. Well, there's the reason why all these tests and workshops are mandatory on those other weekends.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem. So if you're a father and you're going to take them out wherever, you're going to go to the zoo, the circus, or what have you that weekend, it's shot because now you have a school issued program. Nonetheless,
part of the problem. Absolutely.
Problem, and people don't see all that.
Yeah.
So,
it's funny when you talk about stuff like that. It's like there's the gender gap in education, and there's the gender gap in employment, and it's like, okay, well, wait a second here. Nobody wants to mention the fact that like female dominated industries, nursing, education, schooling, do no outreach to dads. These days, like the percentage of men that are involved in as school teachers is like in the floor. When I was a kid, we had Mr. Witt, we had Mr. Johnson, we had Mr. Little. Like we had teachers in our school who were men.
You had a vice principal that would swat you. You did something wrong, you got licked. Now you don't. Now you have more problems, and they say, "Well, we have a lot of problems because all these kids come from deadbeat fathers." Wait a minute. Put a vice principal here that was a Green Beret that's able to swat kids, and I guarantee you half the problems would end.
More important, what you said is a really interesting point because, okay, the kids are the problem, right? The boys are the problem. We have these problem boys who are being raised 80% of the time by their mothers. So the dad, who's only got 20% custody, is somehow managing within that 20% to create all of these problems in the child, which means one of two things. Either your theory is wrong. It's not actually the dads that are the problem. It's moms who are the problem because they're not actually raising boys the way they need to be raised. Or two, dads are so much more effective as a parent that in 1/4 of the time, they can overcome all of mom's trainings and instill their own trainings to make these kids rebellious and problems. Therefore, they're a more effective parent. Why aren't the kids with him if he's the more effective parent? Take your pick. Which one of those is it? Is it mom or the problem, or the kids are just with the wrong parent?
You're correct. You're correct. And coming back with the schools and the teachers, let's just talk about one school district here, UISD. I think they have 54 schools with about four male principals.
Sounds about right.
And I just saw a picture, and they're all there, and you're like, okay,
yeah.
Now here's the problem: why our kids are that way.
And what that leads to for the boys and for them who are going to be men one day is because boys are boys. It used to be okay to say boys will be boys. Can't do that anymore for some fuck the reason. Boys have more energy than girls. Boys need sports. Boys need recess. Boys need to be run around and exercised into exhaustion, and then you can teach them something. Until you get the body exhausted, the mind's not going to pay attention.
Absolutely.
And they don't do that because they want the boys to act like girls. Well, how do you do that today? You give them drugs. Oh, your boy he's not a problem, but he does have ADHD, and we really need to put him on drugs. He's a very smart child, but he's disruptive in class. We need him to pay attention and to calm down. We need to put him on one of those drugs, whether it's Ritalin or one of the other drugs, to get him calmed down. What are we doing? We're A, not really dealing with the root problem, and B, we're creating a whole level of people who are drug addicts.
You just hit the nail's head on the problem or something that I've been observing in the last 10 years. Okay. More and more, the separation of families I've seen, especially coming into the school. And more, I've seen kids coming from a single mom, okay, coming into the school. And the boys are always on some kind of spectrum and some kind of drug and some kind of problem, but yet the girls are not. And
Right.
you just that question. And you see it with basically every family. Something's happening with a boy and not the girl.
Yeah.
The boy's on some kind of drugs that and you see him and you're like, what's wrong with him? Oh, he's on a spectrum, or he is this, or he has a problem, he has to take his medication. You just hit the nail's head right there. The head,
Yeah. I think one of the biggest problems is like we don't make kids do chores.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My partner's got he has 2 girls and 2 boys. And he has a absolutely phenomenal wife who I've loved from the first time I met her because she's very practical, very realistic. And their kids have always had chores. And because the boys have had chores, guess what? They're really good kids. Because the girls have had chores, they're really good kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the things that parents call and they say, I want to enroll my son in your class. Why? Is he being bullied? Does he need to learn how to fight? Rough neighborhood? No, it's because he needs something to do. I usually tell him to wash dishes, clean his room, cut the grass.
Right? Oh, well, he doesn't feel like it. I don't care. Telling my mother I didn't feel like doing something was not a good response.
Big old sop on the head, when you said something like that. You had a broomstick.
That's right.
You got hit with a broomstick, and people say, no, it didn't happen. Of course it happened. More
Yes,
so than
you
that.
did.
Yeah. And then it happened with your dad, because when your dad got home, you got belted, and
Right.
people don't.
Yeah.
And today, you're correct. So let's look at what we kind of talked previous what we talked about. What is a percentage of the troubled cases that end up? Is it more narcissistic attitudes, more egos, like you mentioned? Is that really where it ends up, or bad actors?
So here's where I think it is. In the world of family law, we've got like let's take all the cases of the people that go into family law, and that's marriages that are going through a divorce. That's people who just slammed it out and managed to have a kid together accidentally, or maybe they actually were intentional. 80% of those probably are fine. Like this 80%, they're going to go into court one time, maybe 2 times. They'll come up with an agreement. Judge will sign it, never go back into the court again. The 20%, this 20% is like the high conflict stuff. And within that, you've got the personality disorder people, the borderlines, the narcissists. Borderlines are women and the narcissists are men generally. Gross generalizations. But in general, when you're dealing with that craziness, it's one of those 2 issues. Then you've got the people that have like serious mental health issues, whether it's schizophrenia or bipolar. You've got the people that have substance abuse problems, drug addicts, which these days are the kids who 15 years ago were on Ritalin because they were acting too much in school. So we started this problem over here and now it's playing out over here. The reality is the sliver, maybe the top 5% of that, the super high conflict cases where you're in court like every other week or once a month for years on end, that's the stuff that gets all the attention. That's the stuff that makes headlines. And most importantly, those are the cases that make really bad laws. Because those are the cases where somebody has grabbed a headline, gotten elected behind it, gone into the legislature, made some crazy ass law that now applies to everybody else. And I say this behind the backdrop of domestic violence and domestic abuse. It's October 24th. We're in the last week of Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the States. And it's everywhere. Everybody's an abuse victim. Everybody's been a victim of domestic violence. Everybody's a narcissistic survivor. Everybody's a borderline survivor. It's like, oh my God, what the? No, you're not. You're really not. What you are is the victim of a bad breakup.
Yeah,
You're just going through a breakup and there's hurt feelings and people say things they don't mean, and it should not be weaponized to the degree that it is. Because in today's world, if you're going through a breakup and somebody goes into court and says, they yelled at me and I'm terrified that I don't know what they're going to do and I can't trust them around the child. And that was my case on Monday, by the way. She was not sure she could trust the child around the man. She's still living with him, by the way. They're still living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Like, wait a second. You're so scared of him that you don't trust your kid around him, but you live with him still, so he's paying all the bills. Okay, I get it. I see what's going on here. And that law that allows a judge to say, oh, you're terrified, you're scared, someone's yelling at you, you've been abused, because that's the definition of abuse, is you yelled at someone, which is patently absurd. That's the basis, based on laws that are written by people who were elected off headlines, because 20 years ago or 25 years ago, O.J. Simpson killed Nicole Brown Simpson. And everybody is now saying, I never want that to be happening again. Well, there's a big difference between domestic abuse and domestic violence that's really extreme, black eyes, broken bones, murder, and where we're at today, which is, you yelled at me. You made me uncomfortable. You disturbed the peaceful enjoyment of our living arrangement. Dude, anybody who's ever had a roommate has been disturbed with the peaceful enjoyment of having a roommate. Like, I used to live with my best friend and my brother. There's 3 men in a 3-bedroom apartment. Guaranteed there was at least one day a week that one of the 2 of them was annoying the crap out of me, and I'm sure I was doing the same to them. That's grounds for a restraining order.
Wow.
It's absurd.
See,
it's just absurd.
In Texas, they have something they call the silver bullet. I'm pretty sure you've heard about it.
It's global. It's not just Texas. That's a global problem. I get DMs and emails from Australia, South Africa, the UK, a ton from Canada. Because the silver bullet is a very effective strategy, and lawyers use it and manipulate it because it makes them money. Lawyers use it because it gives them advantage in family court. If you're the victim and you go into family court and you say, I've been abused, I need protection, most laws now say, okay, we're going to protect you, and that perpetrator should no longer have custody of their children. It's not in the kid's best interest to be around a perpetrator, which, and I'll agree with that, so long as there's real abuse going on. Because I've had cases where there's real abuse going on. But these days, probably 90%, maybe more, of the domestic violence applications are just manufactured BS. This case I was in on Monday, it's just BS. She's claiming that she's terrified of him, that he's abusive, that he's explosive, that he's angry. I'm like, okay, so fine. Do you have any evidence of that? Well, yeah, he yells at me. Okay. Yeah. Do you ever yell at him?
Counselor, here's a little bit, guess which where we're at. You go in there and you say that, they'll put a temporary restraining order. You can't go back to your house and you have to go somewhere else. And then all of a sudden, now you don't have the ability to be in your house.
Right.
You can't do stuff. You can't do anything. Now you have to live in a hotel or where have you, in your car or what have you. And that's common practice here. The first thing that happens is there's a restraining order and you're out. And they can do whatever.
It's global. I was I can't tell you how many guys from Australia I've talked to that had that exact same thing happen to them. UK, same thing. South Africa, same thing. Canada, same thing. Mexico, Brazil, everywhere. And it's an outgrowth of the domestic violence industry taking control, because there is something that drives this that makes it worthwhile for them to do this. If you're a domestic violence lobbyist and you're being paid by a domestic violence shelter, what's driving it? Money. The more need there is for domestic violence shelters, the more money there is to get from the government, the more money you can raise from the public, because everybody wants to protect women and children. You have to. You have to give us money to protect the women and children. You have no idea the need, how abusive men are. Really? If that's the case, how come the National Institute's report on intimate partner violence said 50% of all domestic violence is perpetrated by women? And I think that's BS. I think it's probably closer to 70 or 80. Because if you're going to make the argument that if I'm yelling at you, if I'm nagging you, if I'm controlling you with coercive control, whatever the hell that means these days, that's domestic abuse, who does that more in a household? Men or women? How many men are told, oh, you just don't do anything right. Oh, you can't load the dishwasher correctly. You don't fold the towels right. What is that? He never does anything around the house. He won't load the dishwasher. He doesn't help with the dishes. He doesn't do the laundry. Okay. Well, how many times did you tell him he doesn't do the laundry correctly? Well, he just doesn't. Okay. Where's the rule written that says how the laundry is supposed to be done from the National Government's Laundry Association statement on how you're supposed to do this? Because my guess is you're doing laundry the way your mother taught you to do laundry, and you just think that's the only way that's possible. You think there's only one way to load a dishwasher because that's the way your mommy taught you. And you don't want to acknowledge that, oh, maybe he's right. Maybe there's another way to do this. But if we say, okay, nagging and abuse, it can be verbal. Well, women are more verbal than men. So wouldn't it logically follow that women are going to be more abusive than men?
Well, you
we don't want to have that conversation because we can't attack moms. We can't attack women. Well, I'm a single gay man with no kids. I got no fucking dog in this fight. Like I'll call them out because the reality is they're abusive and controlling, and it needs to be recognized because that abuse and that control and that silver bullet BS is leading to tens of thousands of dads being taken from hundreds of thousands of children, which leads to tens of thousands of suicides every year by men globally.
Absolutely.
And that's why I wrote my book. I mean, that's why I do this work, is because I've had clients who get that depressed. I've had clients who are definitely borderline suicidal.
Seen it. I've helped out many.
Yeah. When you get that phone call from a dad who's giving up and you get that text message that says, thanks for everything, I'm out. And I've gotten those. It's bone chilling because sometimes they're going to do it. I've got in my VIP program, we have a lot of dads who are going through the silver bullet BS and the struggles in family court to see their kids and fighting and trying to learn to do it themselves because they can't afford a lawyer on their own, and they're trying to go into court and show to the judge that they're great dads and that they should have time with their kids. And about a month ago, we had a guy he just had it. He'd just been destroyed. He just couldn't take it anymore. And he goes on the WhatsApp group and he says goodbye to everybody. And of course, as men will do, they're going to rally. You give them a reason, they're going to rally. And so there's text messages and phone calls and emails to this guy, and somebody manages to break through and actually spend a couple hours on the phone with him and talk him through it, talk him off the ledge. But not every dad gets that.
Yeah, you're correct. I had an incident. I got remarried. My wife said, hey, what's going on with him? Did you read what he posted? So I called him up and I go, hey, what's going on? And he's out. And I said, hey, let's go get something to eat. Right now it's 11 o'clock at night. Meet at this restaurant. Let's go touch base. And little did I know he hadn't seen his daughter for 3 years. Finally gets a court order for him to see the daughter, goes over to some town in South Texas, goes over to pick him up. The ex-mother-in-law and the ex-sister-in-law are outside. They call the police. They tell the police officer that he pushed the ex-wife, which was total bullshit.
Right.
And in jail, was losing his law enforcement license. So we helped him out. You know what I'm saying? So he was so we helped him out, send him off with this, send him off. I got him an attorney to help him get through this. Everything was reversed. Now he sees his daughter. And so I said, hey, there's no problem that you can't solve. And when you hang around with others, you can solve it because there's more people, minds, experiences can solve this. There's some way or another we can get through this.
Yeah.
But
it's brutal. I mean, the guys in my VIP program at jazzlawschool.com go through unbelievable tragedies, but they survive it and they overcome it. And they're fighting to see their kids. And the thing that makes me probably the most frustrated is that they have to fight. There's no reason why they should have to fight. It should be an assumption.
So I'll tell you, it was my weekend, and I had them, and my kids had, my son had a robotics competition in San Antonio, so we went over there. Everybody's fine and dandy. I'm sitting down there. In fact, I just recently got married, and we show up, and we're there, and all of a sudden it's over. So I told the kids, hey, let's go. We're going to go grab something to eat and then head back. We have to drive 4 hours back, 2.5 hours back, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, we're all going to go eat over here. You're not going to allow and the little scene erupted. And I turn around and I have an off-duty police officer, pushing me and deadbeat this. And I controlled myself from knocking his ass on the ground, because that's basically what I tell people don't do.
Right.
So, because you know where that's going to happen, where that's going to end up at. And literally, that's when I realized that my decree had not been signed. And all of a sudden, she took. So when I came back, then I started researching what was going on. And this was 3 years after the divorce.
Yeah.
This had occurred. We didn't know. So I had to go back to court and get this damn thing signed. And we find out several others, and then you're like, okay. But it's just, my case was a weird case, but it's there. It probably happens to many. But
it does. And you could have had that same decree completely signed off. It can be totally buttoned up with very clear rules, and mom wants to ignore it, and the cops will take her side.
Absolutely.
Because the cops want to protect women, and it makes them feel like big, strong men because they're protecting the little victim against this big, horrible man who just wants to see his kids. Yep. And I love it when that happens, because I know for damn sure sometime in the next 10 years, that cop is going to be on the other side of it.
And it happens.
Because that's the kind of cop that's going to go and he's going to find some little woman who just wants to be protected and provided for. And he's going to feel all big and strong and powerful, and suddenly his unit is 12 inches long and 6 inches thick. And then she's going to turn it on him, and he's going to get his comeuppance. And it's probably not right, but I definitely am like, good. You got what you got coming.
Yep.
You deserve that, dude.
You see, it happens.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for continue doing what you're doing. Thank you for.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for standing up, and for men going out through this, and women too. Keep your head up. Every problem can be solved, and continue moving forward. A lot of kids, when the alienation, they age out and they realize who the alienator was, they'll alienate that parent. Remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, it backfires on moms a lot.
Yep.
Which Absolutely. Is, there's also a little bit of like glee when that happens, because they're getting what they deserve. They're horrible human beings. There are bad moms, and we need to say that there are bad moms, and we need to identify what a bad mom is. And if you're a dad who has to go into court to get time from a judge with a court order to see your kids, she's a bad mom. If you're having to go in multiple times to get a court order, she's a bad mom, dude. I'm sorry. But you need to change your damn attitude towards her and recognize that she's a bad mom. I can't tell you how many times I've had guys come into my office who are complaining that, I don't get to see my kids and they're doing this. And I'm like, okay, well, no, she's not a bad mom. She's a good mom. And I just want to slap him upside the head. I'm like, you just spent 20 minutes telling me how hard it is for you to see your kids. She's making it difficult. How does that make her a good mom? Just explain to me what your definition of a good mom is, and I'll accept it. And they can't, because the answer is she's a bad mom. They want to look at it and be like, well, she gets the kids to school on time. She loves her kids. She feeds them. She clothes them. Yeah, that's called bare level parenting. That's basics, dude. You get the kids to school, clothed, fed. Everybody loves their kids. If you don't love your kids, there's something wrong with you. You're probably a psychopath.
Yep. And
that's not the definition of a good mom or a good dad.
You're absolutely correct. Because I remember you just reminded me we were in court one time, and she was fighting for a change in the day from a Wednesday to Thursday.
Yeah.
I go, but on Wednesdays, if I teach class, my son comes to class, I pick him up from school. The class starts at 6. I drop him off at 7:10. It'll be fine for me. Okay, no. I had to drop off my daughter, or my daughter had to leave me at 5:00, and then I had to leave my son at 6:00 for class for teaching at my school. And I said, there's no way. And her attorney came over and she said, what the hell's wrong with her? I go, it's your client. Figure it out.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? So we're in court and we're talking back and forth. And she turns around. She tells her, it's only not even 45 minutes. He's going to be with his father extra. And then they're going to be dropped off. No, but the judge sided with her. I had to drop off my daughter at 5:30.
Fuck.
Yeah, 5:00, pick up my son at this time for me to go teach him and drop him off at 7. I mean, I was like,
yeah, bad mom. My interests are more important. In the book, I tell dads, and in the program, I tell dads, it's not your time. Don't use the phrase my time, my kids. That's possessive. You want to talk about what's in the best interest of the child. What's in the best interest of the child is to have an easy transition. If we do it this way, it's smoother for everybody. Daughter, son, parent, other parent. The ones that walk into court and are like, no, he can't. I need to have, it's my time. It's my kid. Lady, there's a pretty crude joke. You want to claim that kid is yours because it came out of you. But just remember this. All kids came out of their dad first.
absolutely.
Start there.
Absolutely. Great analogy. All kids came out of their dad first. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm going to make a t-shirt out of that, I think.
A hell of a t-shirt. I think dads, be proud. The kids came out of you first.
Exactly.
And that's actually should be a good slogan.
Yeah, I may have to do something with that.
So that's a good one. Anyway, you have a book. Tell us
I
a little
do.
bit.
My book, Dad's Child Custody Action Plan. It's available. And today to help dads who are learning to fight in family court because they got a bad mom on the other side. They got to go explain to the judge why they're a great dad. They want to learn how to talk to the judge, what to write, because writing is most important. what you put in your paperwork is probably going to carry more weight than what you say to the judge. And that's a really important thing that dads need to remember is you have a great opportunity if you're putting a paper in front of a judge, a declaration or an affidavit with evidence, to make that judge like you, know you, and trust you from the get-go before you even walk in that courtroom. And so that's why I wrote Dad's Child Custody Action Plan, so the dads know what they can say, how to say it, what they can put in the paperwork, how to gather the evidence to do that. And if you want to learn more about that and my programs, my VIP, where I help dads learn to represent themselves in family court, you go to dadslawschool.com. We have a VIP program where we help dads. We have once a week meetups for 2 hours on a Thursday. We've got a WhatsApp group for dads to support each other. We've got email support. I got video courses that teach all of this information and more so that you're ready to go into court and put your best foot forward to get the most amount of time that you want and that your kids deserve.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for doing what you're doing. And
Thanks.
this is the best be continuing, and it's going to continue for a very long time.
A very long time.
Something that we need to face, and it's a problem it's a social problem. I think it's institutionalized social problem because it crosses all barriers from the judicial to the educational, medical.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So thank you, and for those
My
watching,
pleasure.
click, share, comment, and let us know where you're from. That's very, very important.
Yeah.
And can they get a hold of you if they need to get a hold of you in California?
The easiest way to find me is on all the socials. It's Dad's Law School. So it's DADLAWSCHOOL. And I'm on the TikTok and the Instagram and the Facebook and the YouTube and the LinkedIn and the Pinterest and probably 3 others that I don't even know about because the social media guys are handling it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Folks out there, you all stay safe, be safe. Until next time, God bless you all. Until next time, peace.
Have you ever wondered about what happens in a martial arts studio? Well, you start right away by setting goals, building determination, gaining focus, building skills, all while becoming more fit, gaining confidence, and learning self-defense. Buitron Academy is a school where attitude meets aptitude. So give us a call at 956-401-4868.